And now they're on the way. In that first dynastic period, about 5,000 years ago, would bring to power a king called Minos in the north, called Numa by the southerners. He must have been a king of some substance, otherwise they would not have built an entire city in his honor called Memphis, not Tennessee, Memphis in Africa, long before America. Now the second dynasty wasn't impressive, but it was a holding dynasty. I mean, things didn't get worse, didn't get better, didn't get worse. That's what you mean, a holding dynasty. Now when we come to the third dynasty, 2800 BC, now we have to pause. Now we've got to slow down. This is one of the great dynasties in history, not because it's a dynasty, but because of the certain personality that emerged during that dynasty that influenced the world of today. The king was Zusa. The personality that was his grand vizier, our prime minister, was a multi-genius named Imhotep. A man so talented that his talent would influence the world of that day, and it is still influencing the world of this day. He built the step pyramid. He was a doctor. He was the real father of medicine. He was a philosopher. He started the gathering of the intellects that later resulted in the establishment of the mystery school in the Great Lodge at Luxor. This is the embryo of what's going to be the world's first university. He lived 2,000 years before the Greek, who's called the father of medicine, and he was the real father of medicine. And Hippocrates, who's supposed to be the father of medicine, said that I am the child of Imhotep. And when I asked black doctors, stop this nonsense about the Hippocrates oath and changed it to the Imhotep oath, they thought I was crazy. When I asked that one of the pavilions in Harlem Hospital be called the Imhotep Pavilion. His grave was excavated about 20 years ago by Professor William Emery of London. And now we have not only information on him, we have his actual medical tools in existence. There's no question about who he was. In the air was no Greece. Greece didn't exist. England didn't exist. They were in caves painting themselves blue. Rome didn't exist. We're talking about time there wasn't no Europe. And we're talking about a time before Africa was invaded by the Asians. The first trouble in Africa came from the Asians. All right. That third dynasty, the Builders dynasty, the step pyramid would set in motion the concept of mass building, massive temple building. Now man began to build houses with more than one story, because that's what the step pyramid looked like. A house built on top of a house. Now the concept of building changed after Imhotep. Now history would take a great leap forward, not only materially but intellectually. The next 6 dynasties will be the dynasties of the building of the Great Pyramids, the Sphinx. The next 2,000 years would be the foundation years for mankind. The Africans would bring into being the basic foundation that man would later call civilization. And he would develop so much in that Nile Valley that man be still copying from. He would develop the laws of object. He would develop religion that says, if you got a God, you got to have a goddess. All right, now we're into something now which you in the West have lost and never conceived. I mean, if you got a male, you got to have a female counterpart. That was a part of the total culture. We're into the matrilineal at an early age in history. That the lineage comes down through the female side of the family. So respect for the female was built into the structure of the society itself. Something the European woman never had and do not have to this day. Her respect was not something she had to grow up and demand. It was built into the society itself. The foreigner changed the concept, changed the matrilineal to the patrilineal, because the foreigner was afraid of women. The last drastic change came with Islam. The greatest change of culture came with, and the last change came with Islam. Every foreigner challenged that structure. And yet, today, most African societies have a matrilineal system of inheritance as against the patrilineal, meaning that the line of descent comes down to the female side of the family as against the male side of the family. Something that never existed in Europe and don't exist in Europe to this very day. Now what is more important is that out of this period came goddess as well as gods. And the best known of the goddess was the goddess Hathor. And that her influence was so great that it spread to Asia, and the concept of the sacred cow in India came from an aspect of the religion of Hathor. And when you see her drawn in history, you will see a female with a cow's body. It was the sacredness of this image that gave them the concept of the sacredness of the cow. And that this is part of the Hindu religion. This is part of where the sacred cow concept came. Now if you read a book like John Jackson's Pagan Origins of the Christ Myth, which most people are not going to read his Christianity Before Christ, another book, this is a brother, Man, God, and Civilization. Now I can stay here the rest of the night just rattling off books of depth by white writers as well as blacks. But I'm just rattling over the black ones first. I read Dr. Ben's African Origins of Major Western Religions, this African mother of Western civilization. We haven't been delinquent on the subject. Been teaching in the classroom, writing it in books, screaming at it. You know what kind of problem? It had nearly 3,000 years without a major war. You know what kind of progress a people can have in a time like this? Now the war is going to come. But famine from Western Asia is going to cause migrations from Western Asia. And a people is going to come in from Western Asia called Hebrews, later called Jews. Africans are going to feed them, save them from famine.